Okay, let's call the meeting to order. First item is roll call.
Hines,
Here.
Bentley is excused, Topper,
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Next item is approval of the report. Any comments or changes?
No,
Hearing none. Thank you.
just want to be clear.
Yes, thank you. Hearing none, the report is approved. I have nothing to report, and I don't think we have a marketing task force meeting, so we don't have that. So we're on to the capital project update.
All right.
Miss Ann.
Yes,
Oh,
so.
you don't want this, right?
Don't let me do this. There we go.
Anybody else? Mary? Yeah. Save your eyes.
Yes.
Okay. So with the capital project, so first I just want to let everyone know, so towards the end of the year, between vacations, illness, which came upon Rossmore. So the update to the year to date, we don't have a current estimate, but we did go ahead and try to project based on invoices that have been submitted since October to have a better idea of where we believe we're going to end up year end. By the finance committee, that should be closer to truth.
Okay, so these are October plus best guess.
It's the October year to date, and then the projected is a pretty darn good guess on where we're going to end up. So as we look through these projects, again, these are the projects for the year 2024, which just concluded. So the Gateway project was completed with the shades and the AV stuff was the last to be installed there. I think everyone is aware that with the pickleball project that we took it to design review on December 4th. That was just prior to the last time we met. And so then the next step will be going to the planning commission, and we're awaiting a date from the city on that. And we're going to have some conversations with the city to see if we can encourage them to give us a date earlier rather than later. For the Tice Pool roof structure, we were really happy that we completed it ahead of schedule. We thought we'd be opening the pool by this month, but we opened it December 16th. And it was really great because it's been a cold winter and it got even colder, just like right as we were able to open it. The alternate transfer pump has been sitting on this, but it was actually an operational item, so there's really no expenditures on that. For the NetSuite implementation, the project is underway, and we can talk a little bit about that more, I think, in the 2025 capital project. But we can talk more about that in the numbers that are there.
You have some update.
For the Gulf Bridge replacement program, that is a project that carries over into this year. So all of the surveying is done and everything that is needed in order to kind of put together the construction documents so we can bid out the final for that project. So the network gear replacement, that was concluded and it was under budget. The pools and spa replastering project, we needed to push that into this year, 2025, due to issues with the vendor. Buckeye Tennis Court came in under budget, and that was completed kind of the middle of the year. The Event Center Tech rehab, that was also completed back in August or September. For the pavement program, again, complete and under budget. For the roof replacement program, this is a project which refers to the skylight that's in the fitness center. When you go through entry and turn to your right, there's this skylight structure that's original to the building. It became a little bit more different than what we thought the solution was. So it's being kicked forward and actually you'll see the adjustment made based on the last planning committee's conversation on putting that, like doing the plan this year and then the construction in 26. I'm getting my years messed up now. Okay. Median turf replacement, I think everybody saw the activity. What we completed this year was right at the entry, right, Rossmore, but that was completed the end of the year.
It's looking nice.
Yeah, and I expect that when that number comes through, I expect that's gonna be under 65. For the golf course pump replacement, we're actually in the contract the contracting phase. Sometimes it takes a while to get the back and forth with the insurance. So some of that work, which was budgeted last year and we had the increase approved for, will actually have to be carried over into 2025. For the golf course lake liner replacement study, we'll be talking about that more in capital. Really a lot of the putting together like the scoping plan and whatnot, that will happen. Like more of that's gonna happen in this year with the construction happening in 26. For Gateway Solar, I think everybody saw that the actual arrays were all up. That was well ahead of schedule. We thought that was gonna go through the end of this month as well. That company was incredibly wonderful to work for. I know when they did from one switch to a parking lot, the madness was like minutes. I mean, they really did a good job in the switchover. And so they're not active yet. So the project is carrying over and it's connecting us. Like the switch gear, it's not anticipated to come in probably sometime March or April. Those should be activated.
I've heard so many wonderful comments.
And it's shade.
And shade.
Shade and the
People
lighting.
really seem to like it.
The lighting is so much
lighting,
better
yeah.
at night.
In the entry control facility, again, this was something that we added towards the end of the year, is the generator at the entry control facility. And the permitting kind of concluded the end of 2024, so we'll get into the construction and we should have a number adjustment on that as well, hopefully by the next meeting. And then on the backside, really were all the projects that were requested but were deferred and there was no activity on them this year. Any questions about that?
Yeah.
I'm like a decisive man.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. Let's go to A, the review and hopefully recommend to the board the approval of the capital budget.
All right. So I'm gonna. Yes. All right. So within your packet, you do have all the detail sheets specific to the projects. I wanted to start with the, oh, I'm sorry. I'm messing up the view here.
guys the wrong sheet.
But I wanted to look at this sheet. I wasn't smart enough to put where I had the changes. So after last month's discussion, there were requests to say, well, why don't we try to do a bit, just like focus on just the scoping on certain projects, maybe starting it later in the year and pushing construction into the next year to kind of smooth out the spending a little bit of some of our larger projects. So as you go through this, with the ongoing, there were really no changes to any of those. And the same thing for the major capital. So those all stayed the same. For the lawn bowling green turf conversion, at last month, we just had this placeholder of 100,000, depending on what we wanted to do. So the thought was that if we proceed with this project, to start the scoping and the conceptual more towards probably the last quarter and continue it into 26 with, so it's kind of like split
Sure.
with the building.
Can I ask a question about the one
Yes.
bullet? I'm just curious, we talked about doing the turf conversion, but then when I read the summary, it talks about funding in 2025 is for a park master design plan that goes beyond just turf conversion, or?
Because the idea is really to engage with the community.
Right.
Kind of pick up the discussion on this. At one point when it was discussed, there was a thought of maybe only 2 lawn bowling and 1 converted to bocce. So the idea is like, that's a master plan. When you're talking about reprogramming space,
Okay.
you want to talk about that. And while you're at it, you want to look at some of the related infrastructure. So if you look at like the pathways, the steps down, the seating and whatnot, do you look at that? The lack of shading, do you look at that or not? And it's a plan, right? So it doesn't mean we're doing something and we're going to build, overbuild, but it could be something that you look at it and then you just say, we like this master plan, we can phase it.
Okay.
So it gives you the option to really to work smarter with planning, and then you can fund to it for
Okay,
future
so,
years.
yeah, so I'm here, it's more than just converting the greens, which is good,
Yes,
which is good. Okay, appreciate that.
certainly. As I mentioned with the golf course lake liner.
And could I interrupt for a
Yes,
second?
absolutely.
So there were some changes up above in the roof replacement program.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, we moved that. Yes.
Roof.
So the question on that one was, is it really critical? And I can say it's holding. We know the seals are kind of aging. They're beyond well beyond their useful life, but it is an area which, unlike the pool, we can tarp it. So we had facilities look at it, and if we needed to, through one more season, to kind of do something to protect.
Could you say where that roof is?
When you go into the fitness center and you turn to the right,
So people know what
Yes.
roof it is.
Yes, it's the.
it's a
I think we
skyway.
should maybe do that on the title,
Yeah, you should
because
say,
it's,
because it's, you know, if somebody isn't following along, they don't know what building
Right.
that roof is.
right, it's where the skylights are over the machines.
And Ann, you bumped up the pickleball project.
I bumped it up.
Bumped it up.
Oh, so what you're seeing in this is, if you were to, and it kind of goes with if this was updated with year-to-date expenditures. So you're gonna see that we had what we thought we were gonna spend, and it's based on the contracts to do, like, basically it's the compliance work, and the compliance work is working with the city back and forth to satisfy all of their requests for the permit, various permits, by the way. And so we didn't expend all of that, so it was carried over.
You also increased the MOD replacement.
And it's the same thing, so we didn't exhaust that full contract, so it's carried over. And so thank you for pointing that out, I should have explained that you will see that. Makes sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. That column.
So where were,
You were on lawn bowling.
I'm on the wrong sheet. Okay, so I think so with the lawn bowling, what we decided to do was to kind of, take our time with that process, the design review, so that the build we could push out to 2027. So again, it's given us a little bit more stagger. The lake liner replacement, a little bit, we're doing a similar thing. We have to finish the scoping. It is gonna take us a while to make sure that we have everything checked off and we know what we're working with. And so the build for that would be in 2026. And that's a bit more critical because of water loss and whatnot, which is,
Water use.
So the next is the NetSuite implementation. And so in speaking with finance, or Todd, so these numbers are accurate. And so all but 175 is really dialed into the specific contracts with getting this NetSuite up and running. That other 175 part of it, they're placeholders. And the reason is this. So there are two other areas of this turnover, which is being vetted out. And part of that is the resident portal. And then part of it is all of the software used by community services. So it's the golf, and golf has a couple of things they use. They use one thing for tournament, they use another thing for tee times and their retail operation. Recreation uses ActiveNet, which I think people know if you are a person that works with us on any room reservation. It can't issue invoices. There's lots of customer processes which are not part of that. And so we need to upgrade to make sure we can do a complete, have a complete solution. There's also a different ticketing module that we have. And then in fitness, there was a couple of different things too. There's Mind Body. There's also actually two other things that the personal trainers use. So there's 100,000 placeholder for those. And we're starting to vet them out like this month. And so we're gonna be able to dial in those costs as we go through the year.
So unfortunately, Todd's sick last couple days to go through this in detail, but will at finance. But what they've done is taken expenses through 2024, classified them between CapEx and operating, and broken it down by, we've got about 15 different categories here, from Allied Cloud, all of the partners, Lego Cloud, Tamer's NetSuite, KJ, which is the vendor working on the portal, keeping it up, our project management team. And then, so we're estimating right now that about $396 will be towards 2024 capital. And then looking into phase 2, as well as what Ann was just talking about with respect to the community services side of things, is at 520 for 2025. So we're pretty close to a little bit under what the overall original projection of 916. We don't know what the community services software is going to be. We've demoed some, have a long ways to go still. There's some forecasting and budgeting pieces under the NetSuite. So that is a significant number that there still may be some play in. So there is still, some placeholder numbers for 2025 that will be refining over time. But right now, that is kind of our estimate. But again, Todd will have more specifics under each of those categories, can speak to it much more intelligently at finance.
So attachment 789 has not been updated.
Attachment, what, I'm sorry.
789, which is the,
It's the,
That's the spreadsheet you're looking at right now.
no, the project
it's
descriptions,
the project,
No, that has
picture.
that has not been
Correct.
updated. So I mean,
No,
No,
No, so I have to, no, because we just got those numbers like
Right.
last night.
right.
So I'll make sure that's done for the finance committee.
So are we making any changes to that number?
there's not a lot.
I heard 520.
Yeah, 520, the current budget is I think 544.
right.
So it is a little bit.
A buck is a buck.
Yeah.
So yes, we will update those.
Okay. Anything else about the NetSuite? You good? Proceed? Okay, so NetSuite, so golf bridge replacement, we've talked about that, and so this year, we anticipate bidding it and replacing.
And that number went up. Is it the same?
So it's the same type of thing, so what's happening, so what will happen at the end of the year? So, and I'll just back it up. So when you do capital budgeting and when you're reporting in this format, these numbers are dynamic, right? So they're changing through the year. And then what happens is towards the end of the year, you're estimating what your year end is gonna be a bit more accurately, which this is, which tells you what you carry over. So if money was approved and these are contracts that are out for work that needs to be done to get to the next phase, that part was carried out. So there's, again, some of the work for the different, the engineers and environmental firms, so they can complete the work, which is carried over into next year. But it wasn't expended this year, so when you see the cash flow, you'll see how everything kind of smooths out. Okay, same thing with the golf course pump replacement. So this looks really steep, right? Because we had the increase approved by the board, but the work was not, we wouldn't have started it, so that's being carried over. For the phase 3 solar, this is adding, the request was to change the title of the Gateway Solar to phase 3 solar, because it also includes solar on the pickleball facility. So that 10,000 is for the work that we'll need to just have our project manager track when we get to that work, hopefully this year. The pool and spa replastering, you'll see in here that we bumped up what we believe the project's gonna cost us. And this isn't a change from the last year, but I do want to point that out. So there was 170 that was approved this year. We think the project is gonna cost us closer to 250,000. And so that is that number there. Yeah. The median turf replacement, the number that's in there, it does include, is it the Golden Rain tree?
No, not the Golden Rain tree.
Is that what they did
That's
now?
some of the section
one they did.
along the creek that has been of
That's
interest.
And then,
Is our land go all the way to the driveway to Savers? There's a large lawn
That's a
expanse.
long-
We maintain that, it's not our land though.
We pay for the irrigation.
So we pay for the irrigation and contract maintenance of that.
Why?
Because because
That's a good
we
question.
want it to look a certain way.
Okay,
Okay, so
Good
it's
answer.
aesthetic. Could we?
Yeah.
But that's not a part of this project.
I don't, I believe actually some of that is.
I think it is.
Converting that section. I'm not sure if it goes all the way down to the Savers entry, but a portion of that area is what we're talking about here.
We should at least expand that project in some, maybe a future year to remove that irrigation.
Yeah, take that
Because
lawn
it's
out.
pretty expansive
Well, it's
as
big,
it gets
it's
to
a
the
lawn.
driveway,
Yeah. We have it's our option to take that lawn out and deal with the irrigation, even though it's not our land.
So we'd have to do some coordination with the city
Of
just to make sure we're all in agreement, but I don't think they would object.
Probably encourage it.
And then the next project, actually the next two projects, at the last meeting, the committee asked if we could kind of bump those forward, so we did that as well. And then the other ones that are below the future projects are just projects that have been kind of in the hopper, again, just, they're in future years, but again, we approve year to year, so it's really little placeholders. Now, I think this one. So based on that list, this is what the new, I'm sorry, I'm a
Capital
little
budget, the
cold,
new-
I'm a little cold, Method,
Yeah,
and I've been
capital
lazy
budget,
today,
that's
I'm
all
so
right.
sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
coldness and.
So this is the trust fund cash flow based on with the projected year end and then having to make those adjustments to carry over and completed work. And this is without any adjustment to the number of units. And I think we know now that at the end of this year, we were a little over 400, right? With units sold?
And
We think
number
it was-
of fees paid, we still need to determine, but we're
Yeah.
still over 400 in terms of actual transactions.
Okay,
Yes,
so
so at the finance committee,
this gets updated
they'll be,
again
yeah, they'll
for
be talking about
finance.
that because with, yeah,
We do need to talk about that.
exactly. But this is, without changing those things, just based on this body, this is the updated trust fund projection.
So we're $500,000 short
Yeah.
of our $2 million goal, at least the planning committee's goal.
Yes.
Finance committee hasn't registered on that yet. But assuming that the finance committee sees the light and increases the number to 400, that's 330,000. We say 20,000 on the ERP, so that's potential at 350,000. So we're 150,000 short if the finance committee agrees to bumping up that projection. So in staff's eyes, what could we reduce by $150,000 out of these requests?
So there's also a few things in here that are placeholders. We don't know what the next phase of food and beverage is gonna be. We have 250,000 in there. That can be further evaluated as we proceed through the year, come back depending on if there's funding available, what level of project that may end up being. It's just purely a placeholder right now. So there's 250,000.
I would not be in favor of taking that out, only from the standpoint that residents are clamoring for food and beverage improvements, and we promised it, and it's now been a year. So in my mind, I find that difficult to remove, maybe to reduce a little bit, perhaps, but.
And we also have, the placeholder, we have a budget based on a bid that was not a competitive bid for pickleball. So that number can change, it could go either way, but it should be a fairly conservative number at this point, I would think. So that again is something. So you may find within a few months, we have a lot more clarity on some of these items. And you see other areas where project-wise we have have some,
I mean, I also think once we resolve the year end with completed projects, we may see some
The
there may
numbers.
be some savings in those. Like, I'm pretty sure that John T's last medium project is gonna be well below the 65 that was budgeted.
you have the pavement program,
Yeah.
at a
That has some
million, that you
Yeah, that has
could
some room, for sure.
have some wiggle room.
But we've already factored that in, right?
No,
Those
we did-
savings.
These numbers.
Still at a million,
No, I mean, in terms of the carryover of the balance.
Well, the carry the balance for pavement, yes, I think he's talking about in this year. I
so
mean,
in twenty
yeah,
twenty-five, we're
2025.
estimating just over a million.
Just over a million.
Right.
That could be, that's discretionary.
So let's take 100,000 out of there. And 50,000 out of food and beverage and count on increasing the
Okay.
MTF
Does
revenue.
that make you, okay,
Then we're at 2 million. And I know there's gonna be fluctuations all over the
Alright.
place, but
That
there's
was
also
it.
gonna be unexpected expenditures.
Yeah.
so that's closer, okay.
That would
Without,
be my suggestion.
no, I think that's a.
So
decent
reduce
suggestion. So,
pavement to 800,000, basically.
No, to 900.
Nine.
900, just by
Oh,
100,000.
by 100,000, okay.
yeah,
And
so it's
then-
basically similar to what we have this year.
Yeah.
That's 960,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and then
okay.
reduce food and beverage to 2.
right?
200? Yeah. Well, yeah,
Okay.
And BRP 520,
Is that what they
do we
want?
need it?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's our pretty conservative number, is still 520, so.
All right, so you're okay with that? I just don't want to box us into a situation where, you know.
We have flexibility.
Was their year-end projection still 371, Jeff?
No, their year-end, well, that's where we lose it, yeah, their year-end projection for 24 is 396.
So it's gonna net out. It's
All
just,
right.
yeah, just,
All
just,
right.
well, we have to
All
make
right,
the
well, then
adjustment, but it's
let's
gonna
do
net
it.
out.
That's,
So we need another 20.
Did you
Right.
factor in, well, I do think that John's projects always seem to come under.
he's our poster child.
Yeah, I know, right?
Well, we just, in my opinion, then place the median turf replacement as a potential project if there's funding available. And by the way, some of that can get reimbursed by East Bay Mud or no?
Yes, so we're getting reimbursement for current year, so.
Is that
it's
factored in?
gonna- I don't believe that's
Yeah.
factored in.
That's why it's budgeted the way it
Okay,
is.
so that's
in
why he
case-
comes
yeah.
in under.
Yeah.
It's the rebates.
And pavement doesn't usually go out to bid until spring. I mean, we wanna
Well,
hit it before summer or after summer.
Yeah, so actually,
So-
so the best price is earlier in the year, right? Before the summer break, the school break, because that's when a lot of the pavement companies have a lot of this school.
But by that
school
time, we should
contracts.
have the pickleball
Yeah.
number.
Okay, so we can better gauge
Yeah.
what we're gonna need and also get some actual bids in.
So what did we decide there?
So did you,
So what I'm hearing is we're taking 100 out of pavement and we're taking 50 out of food and beverage and we're taking 20 out of NetSuite.
No,
No,
we can't.
because it
No.
ends up netting into this year.
Oh, got
'cause it's
it.
20 over
all right,
this.
so 100 out of pavement and 50 out of food and beverage.
And median turf replacement contingent.
You're gonna move that, so take that
Because
30 out.
he doesn't normally do that till the fall.
Correct.
anyway.
Well,
And we'll know the East Bay Mud reimbursement for the 2024 project. But it's 15 grand, isn't it?
Yeah, in 2024, I believe, came in more around 40,000 rather than the 60.
Net of the East Bay Mud or?
I think before. Yeah, that.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I think the contract for the phase he just completed was closer to 40,000.
So that, the contract was 40, and I think the rebate
It's close to 20.
was like 20. So there could be a good, that's why I think we may not need to, if you're okay, we could look at that year-end figure, which we'll have for the finance meeting, and if it
Let's
nets, and if we
leave it.
end up with the 2 million.
Right.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, great,
All right.
okay,
great.
all right.
There'll be some
So-
little, work through it before we get final approval.
So with that being done, are we ready to send this to finance?
I think so. Do we need to talk about
Nancy?
MTF a little bit? I mean, Jeff, you're saying sales were over 400 at MTF.
We'll have those final numbers for 2024 in terms of actual transfers collected. That's probably gonna be a little under 400, but that'd be our low water mark.
And they will be discussing MTF.
Yeah,
So the chair has done some work on stuff to present,
okay,
on options to
Good.
present.
I mean, I think that needs to be an ongoing discussion, certainly.
So
I'll make a motion.
Okay, thank you.
Had the planning committee recommend to the board and finance committee to approve the capital projects list as amended to preserve $5 million or $2 million available cash balance at the end of 2025.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second. Did that? I
Oh,
second.
did you get it? Do you want to?
I just the last two. I got, okay, so this is what,
I don't know, it flies really fast, so.
Which part?
do you want me, okay, so
The
this
last
is,
Go ahead.
this is what I have. A motion was made and seconded to recommend to the finance committee and to the board to approve the capital projects list as amended.
To preserve
2% preserve.
the $2 million cash available at the end.
Just to review schedule before you vote too, what we intend on doing is this will go to finance at the end of this month. To the board, we'll do the second reading and adoption of the machinery and equipment. Introduce again the capital projects list. Then it'll come we'll have one more stab at it with planning, finance, and final
Okay.
adoption with the board.
So the end
So-
of February.
All right,
We'll
so
know a
we'll
little
still,
bit, so
we'll
we
have better
have-
numbers.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's great.
that's good news, okay.
And by the way, no changes to machinery and equipment. We haven't talked about that, but nothing.
No, I think we adjusted the lawn bowling,
We did,
Yeah,
we
we
took
took
the
out the-
lawn bowling
Part of-
machines out.
but other than that, no.
Okay.
Hines,
Yes.
Topper,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
approved.
Okay. Oh, new business, any new business? New residents forum.
Residents have up to 2 minutes to address the committee. The committee does not directly answer questions posed by speakers during the residents' forum, but it does hear the viewpoints and ideas presented, and members do consider them as they act during the meeting. Speakers must conduct themselves with proper decorum consistent with community standards that would not be offensive to a reasonable person as determined at the sole discretion of the GRF board. Participants may not engage in personal attacks, threats of any kind, or any other disruptive behavior. Speakers violating these rules may be expelled from the meeting and precluded from speaking at future meetings as determined by the board. And we have one resident speaker, Tom Werner.
Up here, and if you can, kind of, I know it sounds very bizarre, speak to the box in the ceiling, please.
My name is Tom Werner, a resident at 1752 Stanley Dollar Drive, Unit 2B. I'm here today on behalf of Frostmore Lawn Bowling Club. From the fact that we have made it onto the Long Range Planning Committee to be converted to artificial turf. We look forward to that process. We look forward to working with the Planning Committee on that, and would like to just have a little bit of input. We are a member of a national organization, Bowls USA, and we are a member of that organization is divided into regional organizations. Ours is the Pacific Intermountain Division, basically the Bay Area. There are 12 clubs in that group. At least 2 of them have already converted to artificial turf.
Good.
So what we are suggesting and hoping to do with you is to provide the input from the other clubs. So before money is spent on planning, studies, and whatever, it
Yes.
seems logical that we would
Yes.
look to both our Pacific Intermountain Division as well as Bowls USA for input. Best practices, contractors to use in the area, because a couple have already done that, and I believe one is getting ready to do it. So, but short and sweet, just that
Yeah.
we look forward to this process. Hopefully, we can provide some input and direct you to other resources that
Thank you
might
for the
be valuable.
introduction.
We are so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
We definitely want to make it an interactive process. Thank you.
Okay. I was only
Any-
laughing, not at you. I just wanted to see the timer go off.
And the fact that he was very efficient and
Very
efficient. Okay, do we have anybody online or
No.
any other residents? Okay, I think that, thank
Next
you.
meeting.
The next meeting is February the 13th at 10:30 here in the boardroom. And with that said, I think we're ready to adjourn.
Super. Right.